our community. I will reckon with 316 and will break the silence. When society asks us as Asian Americans, as especially women, how we, our families, our communities were doing, painfully, naively, sometimes simply, we answer, it's all right, you're working hard. Because of the heavy weight of our daily lives, we seem invisible to society, and society didn't really want to hear. There was no time when we had to help carry our family and community members, burdened on top of our own as a woman. On top of it all, we tirelessly bore the responsibilities and burden that society left us to carry, and it was a series of struggles without any safety nets. We were informing our parents, our brothers, sisters, and our children that if they were hurt, they must speak up, that they were hurt because they will not be asked or treated first. And there were more problems than just lifting the burden from not solved. We must speak up because we have learned that succeeding politically or economically is not enough in the struggles of fairness. Human society, without exception, sacrifices some of its members for their own maintenance, survival, and further stability and prosperity. The victim must be weak, and to many members of society, they are innocent but perceived to be guilty because of how society has perceived them. If the perpetrator at large realizes that the victim is innocent, they can no longer drive out the victim. So the perpetrator unconsciously do not know or care about the victim's man-made guilt or guilt at all. When an unstable event occurs in society, like pandemic, the crisis is overcome by praying to the victim, and we have seen this continually throughout our history. There is still much to be done, and we must remain vigilant. From grassroots efforts up to the White House, we must continue to teach our communities to be aware, take safety precautions, and train bystanders in reporting incidents. We must work with the media to create a narrative that goes beyond victimization and fear. In one voice, we must make clear that we want all our families and neighbors to be treated with the dignity and love they deserve. We must set aside our differences and step forward. We will not rest until the world joins us in our mission against discrimination, violence, and hatred for the APEC community, women, and the world. We will change the history of hatred into the power of solidarity beyond religion, gender, race, politics, and different generations. We will build awareness through empathy, understanding, and love for our neighbors. Asian Americans are united, and we are stronger than ever. Society asks us how we are doing on the first anniversary of this tragic event. We are living a repetitive circle of the pain of losing our parents, siblings, and children to this violence that we have to face every day of our lives. Seeing our mothers, our sisters, and our daughters used as a scapegoat. We will cry out and break the silence. Thank you.
Congresswoman from Georgia's 7th Congressional District. Thank you to the event organizers for putting together this very special rally. Across our country, Asian Americans have felt deeply under attack. Over the past couple of years, xenophobic political leaders use dangerous rhetoric to stir up hatred against many of our immigrant communities. Asian Americans in particular have been attacked and harassed because of misinformation and xenophobia around the COVID-19 pandemic. Though, of course, we know that this harassment and difficulty began well before this. Like so many across our country, I watched in horror last year as the news broke of the murder of 8 innocent people, 6 of whom were women of Asian descent, and several of whom were immigrants. The victims of this attack included mothers and grandmothers, fathers and sons, teachers and veterans. Americans. These lives cannot be restored, leaving pain that cannot be forgotten. Today, we honor their memory. Georgia's 7th District is home to some of the largest Asian American communities in Georgia, and I have been deeply involved in passing legislation that addresses the rise in hate crimes. Last year, I worked with the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus Chair, Representative Judy Chu, and other members of the Georgia delegation to introduce H-Res 275, which condemned the horrific shootings that took place here in Atlanta 1 year ago today. I recently co-sponsored a resolution that commemorates the 1 year anniversary of the shooting by condemning the actions of the perpetrator, honoring the victims of this crime, and reaffirming the importance of addressing anti-Asian hate and the federal government's commitment to combating hate, bigotry, and violence against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. I also co-sponsored and spoke in favor of H.R. 1843, the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, which passed in both the House and the Senate with overwhelming bipartisan support and was signed into law by President Biden. This legislation requires the Attorney General to expedite the review of COVID-19 hate crimes and provide grants to state and local law enforcement agencies to improve the reporting of hate crimes data. Finally, I am a co-sponsor of a resolution that condemns all forms of anti-Asian sentiment as related to COVID-19. As we look ahead, it is my hope that these perpetrators of hate crimes are brought to justice and that these measures reduce the number of hate crimes in our community. The heinous shootings in Georgia were a wake-up call for the public to the reality of the Asian American community and what they are facing each and every day. When one group of Americans is hurting, we are all hurting. Watching my son grow up in our diverse community reminds me that none of us is born with hatred in our hearts. Rather, it is something we are taught. Acts of violence like these demonstrate why we must always call out bigotry and hate whenever or wherever we see it. We must all speak out against it. Let us all work together to break the silence. Thank you.
As we gather here to mark the 1 year anniversary of the horrific shooting rampage that took the lives of 8 Georgians, 6 of whom were women of Asian descent, let us recommit ourselves to the hard work that remains to be done to stop AAPI hate, acknowledge the challenges we face today, and recognize the power we have to weather the storm and emerge stronger together. To honor the victims and their family members of this senseless act of violence, 1 year ago, we stood our ground in the face of terror and fear. We stood united against hate and discrimination. Together we demanded justice for our communities, and together we moved our nation to take action. Under the leadership of President Biden and Senators Warnock and Ossoff, whom Asian Americans in Georgia helped elect, the bipartisan COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act was signed into law to begin the effort to stem the rising tide of xenophobia and violence toward Asian Americans. Yet much remains to be done as violence driven by fear and hatred continue against our community. We live in difficult and uncertain times. From a pandemic that's claimed the lives of more than 6 million people around the world, which we have been scapegoated for, to economic hardships and socio-political instability that drives the rise of autocracy at home and abroad. We must be clear-eyed about the ongoing dangers we face today and respond not in kind with fear or hate, but with hope and love. As our forebears overcame systemic racism, oppression, and violence because of the color of their skin or their national origin, so too can we. We are resilient and strong. We've inherited the wisdom of those who've weathered previous storms. As those who came before us persevered and thrived despite the challenges they faced, I have hope that we too can do the same. To honor the victims and their family members of this tragedy, may we never lose hope in our capacity to overcome difficult days and continue the hard work of ensuring all of our communities can live free from fear and violence. As Dr. King once said, hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. We must recommit ourselves to standing in solidarity with all who face hatred, discrimination, and violence. To stand united with all who seek to continue the march toward justice and service to one another. To continue the march with the shared desire to bring about the beloved community, where there is justice for all people, where we treat one another as we want to be treated. United in our hope for better days, and with love for our fellow neighbor, may we recognize the power we have to bring about the change we need to move our communities and our nation forward. Action is needed. In the words of John Lewis, when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to speak up. You have to say something. Have the moral courage to get in good and necessary trouble. Change is needed. Again, in the words of the late John Lewis, the most powerful, nonviolent change agent we have in a democratic society is the power of the vote, and we must use it. We must use our power at the ballot box to elect good leadership. Leadership that will unite us, not divide us. Leadership that will see us, listen to us, and work with us to protect our families and communities and build a more perfect union to ensure justice for all. So in honor of the victims and their families, stay strong and continue to rise up. Now it is with my deep honor and privilege to introduce a woman who needs no introduction. A woman who has dedicated her life towards serving others, who has fought tirelessly to protect the right to vote for all, who opened wide the doors of opportunity for myself and countless others. Please welcome the next governor of the state of Georgia, Stacey Abrams.
So much for allowing me to join you, and I want to begin by offering my deepest sympathies to the family. I know words are inadequate. We are marking a day of rage and concern. We are here to move this lightly, but I don't think I can touch it. We are here to mark a day of pain, but we know that you lost family members, that you lost loved ones, and words aren't adequate to offer comfort, but we certainly ask for God's peace as you continue to heal. I'm here today because there is nowhere else I should be, and I'm not here alone. Last night I was talking to my parents about my schedule for today. My parents are living with me temporarily. And when I told my father where I would be today, he said, "Can I come with you?" My dad is sitting right there, and I, for a moment, wondered why. I wondered for just an instant why he would want to come, because when my mother heard he was coming, she wanted to join too, but she has an activity with my niece. But it was not a very long moment. Because you see, my father grew up the target of racial violence. He grew up in the Jim Crow South, where being black was enough to justify harm and hatred, to diminish who he was and to deny his humanity. And what happened a year ago today was an echo and a repeat of what has been too long the history of this nation. My father wanted to be here because he knows that the solidarity of which the mayor spoke and Representative Wynn spoke and Representative Park spoke and Senator Owl spoke, that solidarity cannot be given in lip service, it has to be given in action. And that action. This is a nation that has made mistakes, and we atone for our mistakes, but we cannot atone if we don't know what we've done wrong. And as we think about what happened a year ago today, we need to remember that there has only been one time in the United States' history that we passed a law saying that a specific nationality and ethnic group was not allowed on our shores, and that was the Chinese Exclusion Act.
That's right.
But what precipitated that was a law that passed a few years before, the Page Act, which specifically said that Chinese women should not be allowed to come to the United States because they may anchor community and build family. Breaking the silence of hatred against Asian women should have started in the 1800s, but by God, it will happen today.
Yes.
I am here because I have been nurtured by a community that we were told we were separate. It started when I was in second grade with my best friend then, Julita, and I know it's dangerous when you start to say my best friend is. But my best friend was a Vietnamese immigrant. I helped her understand English, and she helped me understand friendship. She is one of a long line of Asian women who have helped build opportunities for so many of us. And I'm going to get myself in trouble by calling out Lonnie Wong and Stephanie Chen, Aisha Mahmoud. I'm going to call out Helen Kim Ho, and those who have done the work day after day after day here in the state of Georgia, making certain that Asian voices are lifted loud and proud. I'm not forgetting you, Sam, but this is about women from this moment. Because you see, I know that in this state, we have the opportunity to show who we are. But it cannot be done through lip service, and it cannot happen in hypocrisy. You cannot bemoan the tragic, devastating, grotesque murders of those women and those Georgians and then pass a law that says that anyone who wants a gun can carry it without a permit.
That's right.
You cannot pass criminal carry and then say, but we don't want violence. We cannot say that we believe that these women, that these families deserve protection, and yet we deny them the very health care that can make their lives stronger, protect their children and their families. I'm not going to say expand Medicaid, but you know what I'm thinking. We cannot say that we believe in the unity of our state and the power, the economic power and the social power of Asian Americans in the state. We cannot celebrate with one hand while we take away their voices with the other by drawing Michelle out of power, by taking over the Gwinnett County School Board, by taking over Gwinnett County's ability to create power for a community that has earned the right to be heard.
Yes.
We cannot let hypocrisy be the language of Georgia. I am running because I want there to be one Georgia, but I am here today because I believe we already have one Georgia. We just need to see it. We need to understand that the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander community that has made this state so vibrant and so strong deserves not only our protection, it deserves our partnership. I am here because as a black woman, I know that I am only as safe as the woman standing next to me. I am here because I know that leadership cannot happen in the shadows, and that we have to turn the light on and know who we've been, know who we are, and know what we are capable of being. We are all here today because there are 8 lives that will never know their full promise. We are here today because there was a man who thought that it was okay to snuff out the humanity of another. We are here because we must remember and we must discuss, and as that sign says, we must tell Asian stories, because that is the story of Georgia, that is the story of America, and that is the story of our future. So I am here to say thank you for those who have wrapped these families in your love. Thank you for those who have wrapped these communities in your grace. And thank you for those who will lift these communities up, because together we rise, and together we will be one Georgia, and together starts today. Thank you so much.